Deku, age 90, sits alone in his house, thinking back on his old memories. His time at UA, the sports festival, the final war, his heroic sacrifice. But what did it lead to? He thinks more and more how it all went downhill. His time spent flipping burgers and teaching the little rats at UA. If he could have his time back, he'd do it all differently. His heart beats one last time and Izuku Midoriya is pronounced dead. Nice little cold intro there. Welcome to What If Deku Went Back in Time. I read all of MHA. I saw Deku working at McDonald's and being cucked by Bakugo, and genuinely, I felt bad for the brother. So, I'm gonna give him a second chance. Please like and subscribe if you like this concept, and go down below. I do have a nice little playlist with every complete series on my channel. Anyway, enjoy. Deku opened his eyes, feeling his heartbeat extra hard in his chest as he stood up from his desk, grasping his chest and breathing heavy, like he'd just seen a ghost. Ida from the front of the auditorium stutters a little before speaking. Sorry, I didn't think calling you out like that would hurt you so much. Deku looks around. He wasn't 90, or a bum. He was back at the UA entrance exam. Ida had just called him out for stuttering. He looks to his left. Bakugo sits, low-key worried about him, before President Mike tells him to sit down. He looks around, blinking and waving his hand in front of his face. Did he reincarnate? No, surely not. Maybe he swapped timelines? He can't remember anything. But he can remember everything from his old life. His thoughts are interrupted by President Mike explaining the 0-pointer robot to in front of him. Right now, Deku had to focus on passing the exam. He walks out the practice site, feeling one for all surging through himself. He figured he could only use about 5% max full cowling, which low-key might be enough. He sits at the front of the group, serious look on his face. The doors open and he rushes in, keeping up with Ida as he turns a corner, rushing in and destroying robot on robot. All Might looking in shock at his predecessor, seemingly mastering one for all off the bat. Kinda jealous, Loki. Sorry. Deku continues on, rushing around and destroying robot after robot, racking up 40 villain points. This is until he hears the 0-pointer. Kinda lost in his own head, he rushes away before remembering what he did originally. Uraraka needs saving. He turns around, rushing back in, putting his body to 10% full cowling as suddenly he sends a tendril of black whip out, almost off instinct, grabbing the rock and slamming it aside as another tendril grabs and yanks Uraraka back. All the teachers are in shock. Who was this kid? What was his quirk? Super strength? But then there was a tendril. All Might especially was horrified. Who was this kid? Was he a disciple of All for One or something? The final exam finishes and Deku is left exhausted, though not broken, taking Uraraka to Recovery Girl as Nezu walks out to greet them, telling them they all did great before pulling Deku inside with him. They talk to Deku, All Might especially worried, Deku telling them straight up what happened, how he's from the future and how he actually died of old age, telling them how he sacrificed himself for the world and about One for All and its predecessors. All Might's dumbfounded. Too much info to take in at once. Nezu looks on though, calculating all of it in his head before nodding. They plan to use Deku to warn them of future plans, pretending they aren't any wiser. Deku agrees to this and accepts right there and then, starting training early to unlock more powers and more percent of One for All. This goes on for the rest of until the rest of the examinees arrive. Bakugo fuming off the bat because he got second place, unaware of who got first. They all sit down and Deku arrives with Aizawa, staring at the class before starting their class with a bang as the quirk assessment starts. They all line up outside and get ready to throw the ball, Deku being given first shot, Bakugo wondering how he even got in. The quirkless Deku. Deku grins a little, seeing Bakugo this mad, sending a tendril of black whip out and covering the ball in it before setting it back about 100 meters. He slingshots forward with about 10% One for All. It shoots off, rocketing about a kilometer before stopping. Aizawa was impressed by his demeanor and his quirk usage. Bakugo, watching on, was dumbfounded. Was he hiding from me? You damn Deku, I'll kill you! Hiding a quirk from me for so long. He rockets towards Deku before Deku feels a familiar feeling in his head, a sharp pain telling him to dodge. Danger sense was back, the quirk he needed the most, to be honest. He was glad to have it, dodging Bakugo but not countering, letting Aizawa cancel his quirk as the exams go on. Deku gets easily first place, driving Bakugo nuts. Deku so far having 3 quirks and being able to use 10% full cowling is already cracked. Deku walks back home, looking over the sunset, all for one faintly cackling around his body at a low percentage to get used to it. He thinks of what's next, planning for the USJ along with how he's going to explain multiple quirks. Walking on, this time he'd be ready. Thinking all night, he would finally come up with something, a plan to get it all over and done with quickly and efficiently. The next day he plans with Nezu for the attack, explaining how it goes down in canon and uses the use of the Nomu and where the hideout is. All for one, Kamino in the hospital, and the mole in their ranks, which is Aoyama. Nezu listens on, hearing every single detail and formulating a plan with Deku to get it done once and for all. Nezu making calls as class continues on, planning and plotting in the background with the police, heroes, and All Might. Class continues as normal, the fighting test coming next. All Might rushing down the door like a normal person and explaining how things go. They rush down to get their suits on and get paired up. Bakugo borderline itching to fight Deku. Timer goes off and Deku and Uraraka go upstairs. Deku having a hunch he was on the 3rd floor. Hint hint. He tells her to go ahead, he had to deal with something. She rushes off as Bakugo walks down the stairs. Deku staring right at him, expecting his return. Bakugo blasts right at him. I'm gonna hurt you so bad you're gonna have to end the fight. Deku kinda cringes hearing this, running right into Bakugo knowing exactly what he'll throw. Deku goes into 10% full cowling as Bakugo throws a looping overhand right hook. Deku slips it, dashing under the punch and spinning midair, sending both arms out to wrap Black Whip around Bakugo and using his hands to detain him. Over in about 20 seconds. Bakugo wriggles and squirms trying to get out, Deku walking away, still holding on to him. He makes it to the stairs before letting Bakugo go as he rushes up. He knows where the bomb is. Making his way right there and meeting Uraraka, looking inside and seeing Ida doing his villain act. They both laugh at him, catching his attention. He rushes at them, Deku tripping him over with Black Whip before Uraraka touches him. Pause. The battle ends just like that. No injuries, no broken bones. GG's. They make their way back to the classroom, Bakugo seething like in canon, but not towards Deku. More that he lost to Deku. They returned. From there, their class returns, going on as normal until Aizawa gives the class a form to fill out about the USJ. Still needing to lure out the League of Villains via the mole, this occurs and the League gets the info, telling them All Might will make an appearance. Shigaraki can't wait, tweaking and scratching himself with his chapped ass lips. They make their way onto the bus, another bus following about a minute behind them, which no one knew about, not even Deku. Having the regular convo was in canon, this time Froppy asking where his quirk was, what his quirk was exactly. I must say he just bullshits his way out of this, People get skeptical, but, nothing you can do about it. The bus stops and they make their way inside, Deku looking right at the bottom of the fountain, Aizawa doing the same. The second bus pulls around and pulls up to the side, heroes loading out and watching from afar as from the emergency exit. This is until they see, like Deku said, a warp beginning to form in the middle of the USJ, warping an army in. Everyone none the wiser. They wait until everyone is out, seeing the big 3 players coming out of the back of the portals and watching them close behind them, they would jump into action. Aizawa jumping down and erasing everyone's quirk from the top of the stairs. The heroes bombard them from both sides, straight away knocking Korigiri and the Nomu out via edge shot. Mirko grabs Shigaraki, whose quirk is still erased, rushing at him at full speed, grabbing him and rushing him to the police who were sitting outside the building. Just like that, it's all over. Over before it even began. The USJ incident is completely averted, but they had bigger things to worry about. Flash over to Kamino Ward, at the bar, the Nomu factory, and the hospital. Heroes from all over Japan and America line up at each of them, ready with warrants for each of their arrests. As soon as they go in and get the go-ahead from the heroes at the USJ, they pounce. The lesser villains at Kamino, like Twice, and what's his name? Like Toga and stuff. They get taken care of, along with any Nomus in the Nomu factory. The hospital, being beefed up with forces from everywhere, would rush in, rushing right past everyone until they found a passageway. endeavor in the pros, including All Might, run in full force. The high ends being way too unstable, about 3 months before canon, and the Doctor being completely clueless would fall to this attack, losing their precious quirks and Nomus. Through this, there was still one string left untied, All for One himself, who was nowhere to be seen. He'd gone dark. Deku knew better than anyone what that meant. The Demon King was plotting something. But this time, Deku was plotting too. Weeks passed, the media going crazy over the arrest. Villain activity dropped to record lows. UA went on as normal. Students laughed, trained, grew. Bakugo started to chill out, ever so slightly. Even Todoroki seemed lighter. But Deku never let his guard down until one night. It happened. A strange surge of energy outside UA as Deku was training alone. Deku felt it before anyone else. Presence. Heavy. Familiar. Pure evil. Deku stood, 45% full cowling active. All for one. Deku muttered. The villain stood there. No mask, no army, just him. His fingers twitched. He hated Deku as much as he hated All Might. I should have killed you when you were quirkless. All for One lunged at Deku, getting clipped by an attack from above. A familiar portal opening up above the two of them. Heroes flooding out once more. They were ready. All Might jumps out of the portal, cocking his fist back and flattening All for One mid-step with a Detroit smash. Leaping in from above with All Might was Edgeshot, Monoma, who was controlling the portals, and Mirko, who was behind him. Danger Sense had already tipped Deku off, and the trap was set hours ago. All for One and All Might battle, with the heroes backing him up, including Aizawa. It's GG's. They rest him, and then, no war, no broken cities, no dead heroes. It was all over. 1 year later, Deku stood on the balcony of UA's new hero school, of UA's new hero history building, overlooking the campus. Students were running drills below. Kids with big dreams and even bigger quirks. He thinks of his time in his other life, the years he spent flipping patties, watching all of his other friends become heroes. He'd finally taken back the future he wanted, the future where he can become the true #1 hero. Like and subscribe if you like this, and check out my other content in the description too. Also, drop some comments on how you felt. I do love reading them. Catch ya.